Elizabeth I of England is one of the most powerful and iconic rulers in history. Known as the Virgin Queen, she never married, and historians have long debated the reasons behind her choice. Her reign marked a golden age in English history, but was this also a golden cage for a reluctant queen? In 1558, when Elizabeth ascended to the throne, England was a powder keg of religious tensions. Catholics and Protestants were at each other's throats, and the country desperately needed stability. Marriage was a well-trodden path to unity. A suitable husband could bring military alliances, legitimate heirs, and political clout. So who did Elizabeth choose to wed? No one. She remained unmarried throughout her 44-year reign. In a society that revered motherhood and female subordination, Elizabeth's decision sent shock waves. Historians initially attributed her choice to a lack of interest in marriage, but this view has been challenged. Now they argue that Elizabeth's virginity was less about personal morality and more about political survival. Her decision was a masterstroke of political strategy. By not marrying, Elizabeth avoided the pitfalls that ensnared many of her predecessors. A queen consort was dependent on her husband and vulnerable to the whims of the royal court. But a queen regnant was a different matter. Elizabeth I was the supreme authority in England, answerable to no one. By choosing to remain unmarried, she ensured that no one could share her power. She was not married to a man. She was married to England. But why did she never marry when given so many chances? Throughout Elizabeth's reign, suitors lined up from kings of Sweden and Denmark to the Duke of Saxony, and even the Habsburg rulers of Spain. These men weren't just looking for a wife. They wanted to forge powerful alliances and secure their bloodlines. For Elizabeth, these proposals were more than just romantic overtures. They were diplomatic chess pieces in a game of international politics. Consider the famous suitor, the future King Philip II of Spain. His proposal was more than a marriage offer. It was a way for Spain to exert control over England. But Elizabeth played it safe. She never accepted nor outright rejected his advances. Instead, she kept him dangling, using the possibility of marriage as a bargaining chip. This tactic wasn't unique to Philip. Elizabeth kept potential suitors guessing throughout her life, never committing, never signing the dotted line. But why not get married? Was Elizabeth really so averse to the idea of matrimony? There's a theory that Elizabeth's aversion to marriage stemmed from her childhood. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed when Elizabeth was just 3 years old, allegedly on the orders of her father, Henry VIII. This traumatic experience, coupled with the political machinations of the Tudor court, may have turned Elizabeth off from the idea of marriage. However, there's another compelling explanation. Elizabeth's decision to remain unmarried might have been a strategic choice to keep her options open. By not committing to one suitor, she could play rival powers against each other, keeping them guessing and preventing any one of them from gaining too much power. In a hostile world, this kind of flexibility was invaluable. So what was life like for the Virgin Queen? How did she navigate the minefield of romance and politics? Elizabeth was intelligent, witty, and charming. She understood the power of image, and she cultivated an image of the Virgin Queen with a fanatical devotion. Historians argue that this image was a product of Elizabeth's desire for control and power. By presenting herself as an eternal virgin, she positioned herself as a kind of goddess, untouchable and divine. This divine image was further reinforced by the cult of the Virgin, a group of courtiers and advisors who promoted this image through poetry, art, and propaganda. They celebrated Elizabeth's supposed purity and celebrated her as a symbol of England's strength and independence. Did Elizabeth truly live as the Virgin Queen, or was it all a brilliant act? The truth is, we may never know. There's no concrete evidence that Elizabeth slept with anyone. And yet no one's perfect. Even the most ardent supporters of the Virgin Queen admit that she was only human. If she did have sexual relations outside of marriage, it would have been scandalous. and the consequences for her and her nation could have been dire. What we do know is that Elizabeth's decision to remain unmarried was a bold and revolutionary one. At a time when women were expected to submit to male authority, Elizabeth turned her single status into a weapon of power. She proved that a woman didn't need a man to be powerful, and that she could decide for herself how and when to wield that power. The myth and strategy of the Virgin Queen are intertwined and ultimately inseparable. Elizabeth's decision to remain unmarried was both a personal choice and a political masterstroke. Whatever the truth may have been, the image of the Virgin Queen lived on to inspire awe and wonder for centuries. If you enjoyed exploring the enduring legacy of Elizabeth I, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another journey into the past.